Batman Begins, love it. Dark Knight, one of my favorite movies of all time. Dark Knight Rises, love it despite its issues I have with the film. Inception, another one of my favorite movies. Dunkirk, here we go. Dunkirk is the latest movie directed by the legendary Christopher Nolan, one of my favorite directors of all time working today. And Christopher Nolan is one of my favorite directors of all time. He directed movies that I really do love. Of course, I named them Dark Knight Trilogy and Inception. Other movies I don't own, like Memento, The Prestige, I really do love and enjoy. While Interstellar, yeah, that was a letdown, though. Dunkirk is a historic war movie during the battle of World War II in Dunkirk, France, at the evacuation of the British Empire and France by the German army. Now, I'm not really good at history class. History is easily like the most boring subject for me, but Dunkirk, the Battle of Dunkirk, that's probably one of the more interesting things that I learned about in history class. And since I heard Christopher Nolan was making a movie about that, I was like, okay, I'm in. Plus, I'm not the biggest on war movie. Don't get me wrong, I love Full Metal Jacket and so many other films, and like War for the Planet of the Apes. Second, no, I'm just joking. But movies like Saving Private Ryan, I remember watching when I was 12, and I couldn't get through that because how brutal that movie was. And I just couldn't get through that. I thought that movie was a bit too overrated in my opinion, but when I rewatch it again, I probably enjoy it more since I'm older now. But Dunkirk might be not only my favorite war movie, but my favorite movie of the year. From beginning to end of this film, my eyes were glued to the screen. I actually saw this movie at my local aerospace museum because they actually have the Lockheed IMAX theater there. And this has to be, without a doubt, the best movie experience I've had all year. I know that's said about many movies, but this experience, especially when you go see this movie in IMAX, in the format that this movie was shot in, and just the sounds, it's definitely worth your price. Go see this movie in IMAX, and you're living in the DC area, go see this movie at the local aerospace museum because you will not be disappointed. I mean, when I talk about the sounds, there are scenes in this movie, of course, they have a lot of gunshots, explosions, and just airplanes. It feel like you're part of the experience. You feel like you're like in like the war, and it's like you probably like, yeah, it feels like that. And I felt like when I hear gunshots, it feels like there's somebody shooting inside the theater. Or when I hear airplanes, it feels like it's an airplane about to crash into the theater. Or when I hear explosions, I feel like there's an explosion in the museum. That's how great of an experience IMAX experience this movie had for me. And just the way Christopher Nolan directed this movie, and just his style of filmmaking, I could definitely appreciate that, especially for a movie like Dunkirk. Just the effort he put into this movie, and the hard work, and the payoff made this movie a very realistic, historic war film. And for a guy who's not really the biggest on war movie, this is just the perfect war movie for me, especially as I learned about this in history class. I also do love the fact that Christopher Nolan puts Cillian Murphy and Tom Hardy in most of his movies, because you can tell that they have a great relationship with Christopher Nolan, and I love how he just put them in this film. And Tom Hardy, for some reason, he just loves wearing masks in his movies. I don't know if that's just me, but that must be a trademark in his films, I guess. Dunkirk is another one of those movies where, in my opinion, you know what's gonna happen, but at the same time, it's not predictable. You get what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but what I'm trying to say is that since this is a war movie, and people die in this war, and there's a ton of people who, of course, did die at the event this year that happened, but at the same time, you're not sure if they're gonna die or not. Or some of these characters that I don't know if you could grow attachment to these characters, because this is a actual event that happened years ago. Like I said before, I don't mean to repeat myself, but it's kind of weird. I don't know how to put it, to be honest with you. It's just one of those things where, I don't know. Here's an example from what I'm talking about. There was a scene in this movie where the pilot crashed down to the ocean, and he was on the verge of just drowning because the water was just going all the way up to the pilot, trying to get out before he dies and drowns into the ocean. But then the boyfriend, he both saves him, and that's the type of scene I'm talking about where you're not sure if anybody. Like, it's hard to explain because people die in this movie, and this movie is also, for a PG-13 movie, it's very intense. You don't see blood or gore or anything in this movie since it is PG-13, but you get the feeling, and you just think that that person's dead, that person's dead, and that person is dead. And I kind of like movies like that. It don't have to have a whole bunch of blood, whole bunch of gore. It just has the feeling, and you just have to think that like, yeah, that person is not, that person is dead. Like, there's no way that person can get back and walking. No, that person is dead. He's gone. He's up there. He's dead. And I think Christopher Nolan, kudos for that. Just kudos. And after the movie was over, people clapped. I don't even remember a time where I was at the movies where after the movie was over, people clapped for how good it was. But if people clapped after a movie is over, you know that it was a darn good film. To wrap this all up very quickly, Dunkirk was an amazing experience in the local Aerospace Museum down in DC where I live at the Lockheed IMAX Theater. And like I said, if you live nearby, go see this movie at the Aerospace Museum because this is probably the best this movie will ever look and the best sound you'll ever hear in a theater. Especially for a movie like this, just go see it. And Dunkirk, like I said, is my favorite movie of the year so far, beating Logan. Logan is great. Love Logan. Logan's a masterpiece, but this movie just knocked it out of the park. Dunkirk, without a doubt, gets an A+. I really want to see this again. I really do, but money's tight right now. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed my review for Dunkirk. And what is your favorite Christopher Nolan film? Leave it down in the comments. I would love to hear it. And thank you so much for watching, guys. And if you're new to my channel and you like this video, since I'm close to 300 subs, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.